Good morning, friends. Today I'm going to make camemberts. I have already made camemberts before a number of times. I've never filmed it for you, and I've also never gotten completely confident at it because I'm always guessing a little bit with the salt and with what containers I'm going to use and how much milk I'm going to do, and it's just kind of been complicated to me, but I'm getting better at it because I am getting better at my systems. It's not going to be any problem. This is going to be so easy. This is fresh milk from today. And now into a kettle I just washed. I'm going to scrape up that last bit of cream because I want all of it in my cheese. Yum, yum. Gonna heat this to 90 degrees. Gonna set the timer for 5 minutes so I don't forget. The one thing I'm doing differently that I've never done before is I'm using my own Clabber to culture the cheese. Using my own Clabber has made me feel kind of like an exotic creature because nobody else has this Clabber. This is my own Clabber from my own cow, and it is completely specific to my location. And so a little bit of my, magic. I mean, not really. There, it's all set up. It smells amazing. This Clabber has just been consistently delicious. I just take a scoop of that and pop it into the jar. This is just to keep it going. I'm not going to be using this, probably not till next week, or I don't even know when I'll use it next. Fresh lid, shake it, and then I put it on the counter. So I need a 1/4 cup of Clabber for every gallon of milk. This is 1 cup, so I need half of that. I'm going to measure, just to be on the safe side, ½ cup. I'm gonna just dump this to the pigs because I don't need it, and then dump this back in. I'm gonna add a little bit of milk to this and shake it up. The reason I do that is it just smooths it out. It just makes it a little bit easier to incorporate all the way. So now, Clabber's all ready to add my milk. This is the recipe book I'm using, page 122. No secrets here. Here's my bag of cultures. I just toss it all together like this, except for the Penicillium Roquefort 40, the blue mold. I keep that separate because it freaks me out. Here is the Geotrichum candidum. And here is the Penicillium candidum. These are both white molds. I don't know what the difference is between them. I haven't figured that out. I mean, I've read it, but I haven't remembered it. I don't remember a lot of things. That gets sprinkled on top. 1/4. 1/8 is half. 1/16 is a 1/4. 1/32 is an 1/8. I really hope I'm doing that right, or you're never gonna believe me again for anything. 1/8 of a 1/4 teaspoon is 1/32. Sprinkling that over. Gonna let this sit for a minute to rehydrate. Now it is time to add the Clabber culture and stir in these molds. Gonna let this culture for 90 minutes. For the rennet, it's a 1/4 teaspoon. For the 2 gallons, so it's less rennet than normal. Dilute it with a little bit of water. Stir it into the milk. All right, now it's supposed to set up for 60 minutes, and then I'll come back and check for a clean break. It's been over an hour. Maybe an hour and 15 minutes because my son was visiting. Oh yeah, totally firm. I've seen people do a split. When they do a clean break, they cut it like that, and then they lift and see if it splits. Oh, that's kind of cool. I've always been doing like going under and then just picking up, which also works. So we got our break. It is ready to go. Now we have the fun part. While my son was here visiting, I washed up all these molds. I guess I should wash these too, just to make sure they're totally clean. Now these are actually the molds that you're supposed to use. I'm not sure which. I think one of these is the Camembert mold, maybe this one. And I have 2 of these and 1 of these, and I just don't like getting different sizes. And when you put the curd in, I've had trouble with, like, you have to press it down because there's no bottom on it. As the curd gets in, it kind of lifts this up and then the curds ooze out the bottom. Don't like that. I wish it was like a sealed bottom. I prefer that. So that's why I'm going to use all of these, which are pretty much like ricotta baskets, and they're going to be really small. Like, these are super small cheeses. See my face? Small. But I just figured they'll just be baby cams, like really tiny things, which is fine. I also like these have the little nubbies on the bottom so it stands up a little bit and doesn't sit directly on the tray. A ½ gallon of milk makes 1 cam. If I have 2 gallons, I should have 4 of these. So this might be enough right here, we'll see. So what I'm gonna do is just scoop up this curd. Just kind of gonna make it, that's getting too fat. There we go. I'm actually gonna do it right here because why not? I just start filling it up. Fill it up all the way to the top and then let it sit. And it's gonna start sinking as it goes down. Yeah, there's no way this is all gonna fit in these. So we'll just keep adding it in. All right, I'm definitely gonna need to use these little baskets over here. These are my ricotta molds. Another reason I'm piling it high is the added weight will help the whey to express. and we'll make it squish down hopefully a little bit faster because it's gonna have to fit in there, so I might as well pile it up now. I'm gonna let this sit for 10 minutes. I'll set the timer and then I'll come back and continue filling. It's not looking any different. I mean, it went down a tiny bit, but not really. Like the liquid is still dripping off, but so slowly. Is that how slow it's supposed to go? What to do, what to do. I guess I'm just gonna pile it up a little bit more and keep going, see what happens. Molds are my biggest problem with this type of cheese. I guess maybe I should just invest in getting what I need. And ideally I would like to make like a whole bunch of these at one time. Maybe I'll just do this one, just one, and see how it works. Okay, so I'm gonna use this, my sushi mat, my mold, and then I'm gonna weight it down. I have to hold this down so it doesn't pop up. These are now supposed to be flipped about 5 times. It is 12 o'clock noon. I am not going to be flipping these for a little while because this definitely needs a bunch of time. Some of these are like over the edge. I don't think that's good. I'm going to do that. Don't put them in all into that one because they're not going to sink down. If they're hooked over the edge, they can't. All right, friends, this didn't sink that much. This one's going down a lot better and these aren't. And I don't know why not. I don't think, quiet dog. I don't think it's because it's sitting in the way. Like my other stuff always sat in the way and it drains down just fine. I'm gonna try to flip one and see what happens. Put this mat on here. It dropped. I'm gonna let that go. I mean, it dropped. What else can you ask for? Hands under it. This is harder than you think. There we go. Got that down. Stay down, stay down, stay down. See? Tore that off right there. I do not like this one. Take those off. Let it just stay there. Pressing down pretty hard and lifting up at the same time and pouring slowly all over the table. I was gonna get my book. Stop, stop. That's better for now. I'm gonna keep that on top too, just to help hold it. This one's kind of floating up because obviously, I mean, it's over the top, so it's gonna push up. One of the biggest stressors for me with doing this type of thing is the materials. There's a lot of little things that you have to troubleshoot and you have to finagle, and it's complicated. Like, I don't like this. I love doing a wheel of cheese. All these gallons of milk go into one wheel of cheese. That's what you deal with. You don't deal with all these little finicky parts. Even though I made these several times in different ways and done different things, it's always kind of piecemeal, and I don't like that. Jonathan, do me a favor real quick. Pick this pan up. Flip. Kind of stick in these patches. There you go. It's going back down. There's still some way in there, but it's not a ton. I'm always rotating this so it goes counter to these rungs right here. Well, looking good. These are shrinking a little bit. Well, this just might take longer than I anticipated, that's all. It's going down, actually. I'm pleased. Maybe I should do it this way now. Nope. Oh, that's very fragile. It's bedtime. Just gonna do it one more time. That's looking great. That's it. Good morning. It has been 20 hours since I started doing these Camemberts. I'm not awake yet. They say you know that the Camemberts are done in the molds when they have shrunk to 1/3 their size and they are drawing in from the edges. So now what I'm supposed to do is salt them on the top of each one, let it sit for another 5 hours, then flip it and salt the other side. So I want to weigh each of the discs and then figure out how much salt is going to go on each one. This doesn't look like it's pulling in from the side. Let's see how this is. Oh, that looks pretty good. Oh, I like it. It's a cute little baby. Let's see how much it weighs in grams. They're very fragile still. 200 grams. This feels pretty darn jiggly and squishy, but it's holding its shape. So these are all between 190 and 200. Oh, look at that. It's like a beehive. Kind of did like a little shrinky thing. That's so cool looking. See how it's shrunk in from the sides a little bit? Oh, there's still a good bit of whey that came out. Beautiful. 487. Okay, I gotta write these down. So if we go by 2% salt for these cheeses, that's gonna be the weight of the cheese times 0.02 equals the amount of salt. And then we divide that in half because that's the total amount of salt. So you divide that in half and you salt half of that on the top of the cheese, let it sit for 5 hours, flip it, salt the other side with the other half of the salt. So if a cheese is 200 grams, more or less, times 0.02% salt, or 2% salt, equals, that's 4 grams of salt total. But we're going to salt the half of the cheese, 2 grams, and then the other half, 2 grams. So that's how we're going to break it down. So we need 2 grams of salt. That's like an ample half teaspoon of salt. So now it says to rub them around. You know what I'm going to do? I think this will be easier. I'm just going to put a little bit of salt in here. A real light roll. Let's pick up a little bit. So there, that's the one half of the side. Those are the small ones. So for the bigger Camembert, it's 487 grams times 0.02% equals 9.74 grams. It's going to be 5 and 5 grams. 5 grams of salt-ish. I'm going to put some on the plate here, and then I'm going to roll. And I'm being more careful with this big one because the size is so much bigger. I like this size. Maybe I should just get these molds. They are pretty. Extra salt, sprinkle around some of these. So now these are in a cool room, about 55, 60 degrees or so, and they are going to be air drying. There's a fan over there. I'm going to let these sit throughout this afternoon and salt the other side. These feel good because they're just like soft. It gets wet as I do this because the bottoms were a little bit wet. None of these got nicked, but none of the rind fell off at all. It's hard to get all the way to the edge. And just for good measure, I'm going to put a little more salt around some of these edges. There we go, back into the cold room. Beautiful. You want a little bit of airflow. We'll just keep it like that. Okay, they're in the cold room. They will just be flipped twice daily. Tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening, the next morning, the next evening, and so on until they get a good mold. And I guess then I'll wrap them and refrigerate them. It is cold in here. It's like, I don't know, 50 in here. Fan going. Brr. Good morning. It's time to flip these little baby Camemberts. Yesterday was Sunday. I flipped them in the morning and in the evening. Today I'm flipping them morning and evening. I'm going to just keep doing that until the white mold forms. Actually not going to look like much of anything right now just because they're still babies. They're still new. So here's the big one. Oh wait, actually is that mold? Where's my glasses? I don't think so. I think that's just like a curd. These are just staying a little bit cracked like that. Yeah, I don't think there's any mold yet. I think that was a curd discoloration. These are chilly in that room. Look gorgeous. That's all that is. Just put it back in and I'll just keep flipping it so it doesn't stick to the mat. I'm going to flip the cams in here today. Oh, speaking of, I just learned that I've been saying Camemberts wrong. I've been saying Camemberts. I said to some friends, I'm making Camemberts, and they're like, Camen what? And I was like, oh, it's Camemberts. And I looked it up and it's Camemberts. Camemberts. The reason I say Camemberts is because Spanish is my second language, and so whenever I'm at a word that I'm not as familiar with, I make the Spanish sounds, the ah sound for the A. So I say Camemberts, and it sounds like I'm saying common bears. They're unique bears, if anything. My apologies for saying it wrong. I clearly am not a very highbrow person, and I don't know what I'm doing, but that's, you know, the joy of this. You get to see me mess up on everything. Yeah, no mold yet. So hopefully that will come. There's good air circulation in here and it is cool. And the big baby, yeah, no mold yet. I was actually up in the night a little bit worrying about these because I'm thinking, what if there's no white mold that gets on these? And it just makes me a little bit anxious. There's a little bit of a glisteningness on them. I feel like they're too wet. If there's moisture, the mold doesn't grow well. And to me, these did not feel moist, but let me put it down right here. I think there is a little bit of moisture. Yeah, there is. This is my problem. I didn't see it. Oh dear. Dry that off and wipe it out really well. And I'm going to leave the lid off and the fan on for today. What's kind of funny is when the mold starts, there's just like a little bit of a blur. Things get, oh yeah, I see mold here. Like the shape of it just seems a little bit fuzzy. I think I see a little bit forming. Ah, it's wet. For shame, I know better. Dang. I'm screwing myself over. There's a little bit of mold developing here. I can see it's just a little fuzzy. Lid's off, door shut. Mice will not appear today because I said so. I'm gonna tilt it just a wee bit, hope it doesn't fall on the cheeses. There we go. I'm gonna let that just air dry today and come back and flip them later on. Okay, it's a few hours later and I'm going to quickly flip these cheeses. And yes, they feel better, a little less damp. Right after supper, I'll come in and put the lids on. I'm going out to play Ultimate right now. There's mold coming. Can you see how it's a little bit fuzzy around there? This is all gonna be perfectly fine. I am so relieved. It feels almost slippery. It's not dry like a cheese is dry when I make cheeses. Yeah, there's mold coming. I see those fuzzies on there. This morning I woke up and was worried because the room had gotten warm. It was over 80 degrees. So I took this down to the wine fridge just to store it. We're going away today, coming back in 2 days. I'm gonna flip these one more time, close them up and stick them in the cheese cave until we get back. Yep, getting the white mold, a little bit of condensation. They're getting nice and fuzzy. They smell rotten, kind of like soured, strong milk. But I have made brie before, and at a certain point it smelled so horrible and so rancid and foul and disgusting, and then it turned out to be delicious. So I'm just gonna trust that that's the same with these Camemberts. These Camemberts are looking fogged up. Oh, they're wet in there. I need to wipe that down. They smell kind of icky. Yeah, they have that gross smell, but I'm not worried. So they're getting nice and fluffy and satiny. These are turning into little fuzzy animals. There's not much moisture in here. Well, yeah, it is actually, it is pretty wet. Oh, it broke off a little bit right there. It was a little close. And these will go back down into the cheese cave. They're not sticking, so I'm not too concerned about the rinds getting torn. They are gorgeously fuzzy. Oh, they do stink. Look how much fuzz. They are so soft, like downy little baby mice. Now it is time to wrap them in this 2-ply paper that is breathable, doll side facing the cheese, then stick them in the fridge for the next 3 to 6 weeks until they start feeling like they get squishy. You can eat them anytime, but once they get soft, then you know they're ready to eat. And they are in the fridge, being flipped every couple days, every day, whatever. So fold over, and you stick a finger in here and lift up and bring the next one over, and it's gonna be a little bit, and then this finger in here, and it comes back over, finger in here, lift, pull, comes back down. You're making a little like rosette, like it just keeps pulling around and covering, and I forgot to get the masking tape prepared ahead of time. Come around the last little bit, and it's kind of like a blob. These are small, so I think they're gonna be ready probably in 3 weeks, maybe even in 2 weeks. The ones that are a little bit heavier, like this one, might be more closer to the 6-week mark. I'm not supposed to open this for another week and a half, but I have a whole stack of these in the fridge and I don't want them all to ripen at the same time because then I can't eat 1 million Camemberts in 2 days. So I figured it's probably my responsibility to try them in stages, like at least one now and then maybe one next week, just to see how they're developing. If I want to share these with people, I should at least taste them to make sure they have proper salt, how the paste is forming. This is my duty. Look how pretty that is. I don't know if you can see that I'm squidging. Like it goes down a little bit, so it is softening around the edge, but the center, well, it dips a little bit, but it's still pretty hard. Look at that. You can see how this like two-tone textures, like right here it's like a firmer paste, and right here it's softening around the edge. And this is refrigerator temps. I didn't even wait to warm it up. As it comes to room temperature, this might get even oozier. It's salty. I think it's too salty. Let me taste again. The creamy texture around the edge. Wow, that's like cream. It might not be too salty. Oh, it's melty. Oh my goodness. I love that melty. I'm gonna let this come up to room temperature a little bit more, and those need to ripen for another week or two, and we are gonna have like a creamy soup on our hands. The inside tastes a little bit chalky. Chalky in the sense that it's still firm, but it's soft. Maybe it's not too salty. Okay. It's salty, but it might not be too salty. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna let this sit here for a little bit, and I'm gonna come back in about half an hour. Who am I kidding? I'm gonna be eating this constantly. It's gonna be so good. Oh, shoot. broke all my pretzels. And yes, I eat off the floor. And yes, the floor is dirty. And yes, I don't care. It's been, oh, a good 45 minutes. You can see how it is much softer now. So it's beginning to get slumpy around the edges and it's shining and it's squishy there. So that is room temperature cheese. And it's still too much of a firm paste. Like I want maybe half of that to be firm and then it would be ready. So it needs more ripening time, but this is really, really yummy. See how it squishes? It has a full flavor. I wouldn't say farmy, but there's definitely this full, rounded, like it fills your mouth flavor. Mushroomy maybe, earthy, has its own flavor that's specific. This is made with Clabber. It's Emma's cheese all the way. It's pungent, there's a tanginess, like it's sophisticated, like certain children would not be able to eat this and enjoy it. Other children might. It's got a kick. It's strong.
This is Camembert.
I think you're getting taller these days.
Really, Mom? I can't even see the cameras up.
What do you think of it?
It's store-bought.
It is not store-bought. I made that.
Oh, well, it's really good.
Here, I don't know if you can see how there's like an indent all around. This edge is sticking up and it's soft. In the middle, it feels soft. It's not runny soft yet, but it feels much softer than it did before. I've also been eating off of this cheese and it's been in the fridge. As I keep opening it up to get another slice, I can keep seeing the inside paste is shrinking and there's more of the shiny glossy part. So it is working its way through the cheese. I never get over how beautiful that is. You can see the edge that I was pointing out. This has been sitting at room temperature for about half an hour probably. Feels like there's a gap between the skin and the inside cheese. It's not even soft, it's more like a bubble, an air bubble. There you go. You can see how that paste is a thinner amount than it was before and how the mold has broken down or done whatever it does to the cheese that much more all the way around. So it is still fairly firm in the center. It could keep going. This is where you're seeing the window of all the different stages of when you can eat a Camembert. Camembert, it's going to be firmer in the beginning, still good, and it gets softer as it goes. But it isn't disintegrating and turning runny like within days. There is a time period that you can eat these. So you just have to kind of stay on them. You don't want them to go too long. It doesn't smell ammonia-y or nothing like that. It's salty. I have to be more careful about that. I erred on the side of a little bit more, being afraid that it wasn't going to be salty enough. I need to be pretty exact with that. Take note. I love the creamy part. Really, really love that. It's not painfully salty, but it's too salty. So it needs to go on crackers of some sort to counter that saltiness. So let's get crackers. It's so much better when you eat it with something. And the crunch and the creaminess, it's a match made in heaven. If you think about cheese dips, snack dips, whatever, they're often very salty to go with a more bland cracker or bread that you're eating it with. In that sense, this is fine. Like as long as you eat it with something, there's no problem. If you're interested in learning more about white mold cheeses, I am currently working on a Cambozola, which I will share the link here when it goes live. Stay tuned. If you see the Cambozola and you're interested in white mold cheeses and blue cheeses smooshed together into one fantastic cheese, I hope, click that. I just want to show you, look how that paste is now getting all creamy. It's still a little firmer in the middle, but that chalkiness is gone. So right now is when I'm feeling like it's probably the best.